This open letter is for Stephen, my cousin, Stephen Nishad, or as he spells his name, Stephen Nazhat. Here's the thing, Stephen. Some time ago, you brought me a message. I'm presuming it was sent from Manuchehri Iranpur. Since you don't have a relationship with my sister, so I'm assuming you brought this message for me from Manuchehri Iranpur, who is an advocate for my sister, has been an advocate for my sister ever since I can remember. And I have my reasons to believe why he's such a strong advocate for my sister, which we will get to later. But my point is this, Stephen. You brought me the message, but you don't know you don't know anything about our situation. You don't have the appropriate information, so your deductions is suspicious, because when the person doesn't have the right information, and the conclusions that that person reaches is usually at fault. Those conclusions are usually at fault because the information was not correct. Here's the correct information, Stephen, regarding the argument, the situation that we have, me and my brother have with our sister. Here's the correct information. Our sister Vida Farokhnejad. I'm sure you know there is a concept in psychology. It's called transference. And the way I understand it, it applies to our case, our situation in our family. And that is, the way it applies is this. My father has transferred his romantic relationship from my mother to my sister at a long time ago. I'm assuming ever since she hit puberty, around 13-14 years of age. Because when I was as long as I remember, from age 7 or 8 that I remember that my sister was treated with kid glove very differently than the rest of her siblings, which included me and Farrokh. She was treated very differently, and but in reality the only difference between her and my brother was their genitals. They were of the same family, with the same genetic information, with the same, more or less same morals and values. The only difference was their genitals. One was a female, the other one was a male. Now, I say transference of romantic relationship because, surprise, I have seen and read this recent year. I've seen enough and read enough about Mr. Trump and his relationship with his daughter, his eldest child, Ivanka, that it has started to, ring a lot of bells as why my sister was treated the same way, more or less. Here's the thing. Mr. Trump, my father, here's the thing. They don't look at their women, the women they're married to, as with maybe they looked at them before they got married in a romantic view. After marriage, it basically washed away, which happens to most married couples. But in case of my father and apparently Mr. Trump, is that once their daughter, if their firstborn is a girl, and as soon as the girl hits puberty, they start looking at their wives as housekeepers and sex objects, sex slaves, and they transfer all their romantic feelings from their wives to their daughter, who's now 13, 14. She's growing breasts and she looks good, and Trump, for example, has made many references regarding, I'm sure you've heard of. It's like, I would have dated my daughter if she wasn't my daughter, and the way he looks at her, and the way he touches her, and the way he brags about her. You would think he's bragging about his wife, how sexual she is and how good she looks, and she's got big tits and nice ass. He goes on and on about his daughter like that. Well, my father didn't verbalize his feelings towards our sister like this, but he acted upon it. He behaved in such a way that it was clear that he has some affection for her, more than normal affection for her. That's the problem. When you have more than normal affection for one of your children, you tend to start neglecting others. And once this child understands that you have a soft spot for her, the child starts demanding more and more. Understands that you have a soft spot, you have special feelings. As a father, you have special feelings towards her. If she's highly intelligent, she might not take an advantage of this situation. But most, as we can see in case of Ivanka and in case of my sister, most girls are not that intelligent at that position. She's 13, 14, and she's lavishing and she's enjoying all the attention that the father is lavishing on her. Now, whether this relationship goes a step farther and becomes physical, maybe in some cases, maybe not in other cases. But the point is, the way you see pictures that with all the audacity in the world, Mr. Trump has this 13, 14, 15-year-old girl sitting on his lap and touching her and holding her ass and holding her tight, and it just So the point is this: my father felt the same way about my sister. Now, how far did he push it? To what point did he went with my sister? Did they have physical contact or no, sexual contact or no? Did he molested her or not? I don't know. But what I do know is that he had these feelings for her his own daughter, these romantic feelings for his own daughter, Vida, and my sister, Vida, took full advantage of these feelings that my father had towards her pussy and milked him for all he was worth, at the expense of me and my brother. Always. She demanded the best, and usually multiple of the best, and squeezed my father for all he was worth. I don't know, with the intention of cutting us off because she felt she deserved to be a single child and we didn't have any rights. But either she had this intention or unintentionally we were cut off because there was none left on the table. Nevertheless, the result was me and Farouk, my brother, were always cut off. It's like, nope, it's not enough for you guys. Yes, Vida can have this. It's $5,000 camera in 1984, but Farshad, his life costs $7,000 a year in United States. I don't have that. I, as a father, will not spend that money because I either don't have it, because I spend all my, expendable income on my daughter, or just don't feel he's worth it. Or my daughter keeps telling me, don't worry about him. He will eventually survive, and has encouraged me not to spend money on her siblings. In any case, this has been the situation all my life. My sister has never given any services to our family. When I say never given any services, this is what I mean, Stephen. My mother died when I was 19. So from 19 to 31, I was the cook for my father. My sister had married off and left, and my brother never thought it's a good idea to, come back home or ask my father how he's doing because of all the shit he has taken. Because none of the resources were provided to him. So he doesn't really give a fuck anymore. She never gave a fuck since he left our house at 18. But my point is this. From 19 to 31, I cooked for my father. My sister also lived in our house up to the age of 31, 32 when she got married to this Muslim shit. But she never touched any cookware. When I say this, Stephen, you might not understand. In a country like Iran, in my country, we went out to a restaurant or ate out, brought food from the restaurant home to eat, or went to a restaurant to eat maybe once or twice a year. This is how it is in a country, in a third world country like Iran. People don't eat out once, twice, 3 times a year, once every couple of months, maximum once a month. The rest of the time they eat in. Who cooks? People who are available, who are responsible for that household. My sister never lived in our household and ate every day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Never once did I tasted her cooking. She just didn't. No cooking, no cleaning, nothing. Our house was basically her motel. She would come in, issue some orders, make some demands, eat, sleep, shower, get out. That's it. And why I feel that it's this romantic feeling that my father has had towards her has been the problem is because neither of us, me or my brother Farokh, could get away with this behavior. No, we were expected, and our father demanded of us to come and help with the family business in our orchard, work there on the weekends and in the house. When my mother was arrived, we didn't, me and my brother were not expected to cook, but we were expected to clean and help out and this and that, with almost zero allowance of resources. So here is, you have a household where all the resources are going to one of the siblings, the oldest sibling, and the other 2 siblings are getting none of the resources and all of the responsibility. This girl gets all of the resources and none of the responsibilities, and her siblings get as much responsibility as they can handle or is pushed upon them, and none of the resources. As you were witness that 3 years of my life in United States, my father decided that he doesn't want to pay for any of it. It's like, fuck you, go and become a servant over there, I don't have money for you. This was their attitude, my father's attitude towards me. No question that it was some of it his own ideas, that he has this limited income, limited resources, and he can either, satisfy my sister to the high standards, or he can satisfy all his children to a lower standards. And because of his feelings, his romantic feeling towards my sister, he decided to go for the first option, satisfied my sister fully, although doesn't have a great income. He's not a doctor. He's not a lawyer. He's not making loads of money. But whatever he's making is decided to invest only in her cunt, in this sibling that has a cunt, and he has special feelings towards that cunt. Then to divide it up and have all his children enjoy some of the income of this family. And that's why he didn't pay for my education in the United States. He didn't pay for Farouq's education. He sent my brother to your family, your father, and Iraj, and anybody else he could think of, to beg them to, support him in his education. And he sent me to your house and Iraj's house and never paid for a single year. For 3 years, I was basically your servant. He sends one son out to beg, and the other son out to serve and be independent at age 13 as a servant of a rich family's household. So the point is this: why it should work out like this? It's a case of transference. For the same reason that Mr. Trump literally is advertising her daughter's business, which I'm sure he has invested in and has helped her to, start and manage and maintain, while he's basically kicking his sons to the curb because they have the wrong genitals. Trump's sons are basically nobody. He doesn't want to, interact with them much. As much as he likes to hold and talk and, caress his daughter, he really has no use for the sons. And the same case was in our family. Our sister had enjoyed this kind of relationship with my father. Well, at the same time, my father didn't want to have anything to do with us, me and my brother, because obviously we had the wrong genitals. And I'm telling you this because this has been the situation, and my sister has taken full advantage of the situation. To the point that now, I remember she has basically manipulated. You see, when a woman has that much attention from a man, that much romantic attention from a man, she can easily manipulate him. She becomes the sugar baby, he becomes the sugar daddy, although he's his father. So she has this instrument of manipulation. She can manipulate the man easily. Any woman whom a man has a romantic feelings towards her can manipulate that man easily, because men are manipulated easily by those they have affections for. So my sister has basically used this position, these feelings that my father has had towards her, to the fullest, to the best of her advantage, and has manipulated him to neglect us. Literally, at the end of his life, she's forced him to give 90% of whatever our family owed and worked for. He has given 90% of that to my sister, and me and my brother have to, divide up 5%, divide up 10%. You see what I'm saying? And what is the recourse? This situation has been going on ever since I remember. She manipulates and she tells him what to do and he does it. She tells him what to do and he does it. And he really wants to do it because he's in love with her. He's in love with her pussy. So she says it and he does it, and he doesn't recognize that it's unfair. He doesn't mind that it's unfair. He's been manipulated into thinking unfair is fair, fair is unfair. And basically, you guys can go fuck yourself. I got one daughter, and that's the most important person in our family. The rest of you can go fuck yourself. And the Muslim jackass who's fucking her is basically, he married her for this reason. You see, a girl, a woman, being brought up like this with romantic attachment from his father, strong romantic attachment from his father, becomes very spoiled. My sister is extremely spoiled. Spoiled means simple. She really doesn't give a fuck about anybody except herself. That's what spoiled means. Spoiled is basically means self-centered. It's lavished with all goods and services to the point that she thinks she's entitled to them. You talk to my sister, she speaks like, yeah, of course, I'm entitled to this. I'm the best. This is how she looks at herself. A little like Janet. I'm sure you're familiar with Janet, your sister. I've seen a bit of Janet in my sister, but much worse, much worse in my sister. This feeling of entitlement and this feeling of, yes, I am the best. Yes, I deserve to have 90% of our family's savings because I deserve it, just because I got a golden pussy. So this is the situation. She's entitled, she feels entitled, and my father has never, although she has broken every conceivable norm for our family, every conceivable norm for our Zoroastrian community, although she has broken every norm, she still gets all the resources and attention and the resources. And it's sort of like, how is it that if me and my brother, used to look at my father the wrong way, and we would get one upside the head, or our resources would be cut off, or our privilege would be suspended, or he would treat us like real shit under normal circumstances, and me and my brother. And the same father who would treat us like shit and basically suspend our privileges at the drop of a hat over stupid shit, no matter what my sister did, no matter what she did, she would never lose any privileges, nothing. Sort of like she's above all. Yes, we don't like 99% of what she does, and she's destroying our family, breaking up our family, not doing things as normal people do in our community, in our family. It's okay. She's got a pussy, and my father loves that pussy, so it's okay. She can do whatever she wants, and none of her privileges would be suspended. You see what I'm saying? So as a result, she's become entitled. She's become entitled. She thinks she deserves every ounce of everything that my family has to give. I tell you why she feels entitled. how she feels, how entitled she feels. When she was living in our house, her room was off limits. That means she would lock her room and go out. Whenever she was going out, she would lock her room, and whenever she was going to the bathroom, she would lock her room and go to the bathroom and come back and unlock it. So you have this person, the only person in the house that has the privilege of locking up her room. Now, how she would use this privilege? She would not on first of all, not on in one hand, she would not allow us, me and my brother, to even have hand-me-downs in our family. There is no such thing as there was no such thing as hand-me-downs in our family, because there wasn't. My sister would keep everything until the end. My sister would keep everything until the end. Never we would Once anything would go to her into her room, we will never see or hear of it again, ever. So whatever all these privileges that my sister used and all this affection that my father felt for her, my sister used to get the best of everything. Sometimes even multiple of the best of everything. And by locking up her room, we could have never, received even the hand-me-downs or something that she got tired of. She would just put it there, leave it there, leave it to gather dust, instead of, having other members of the family use it as a hand-me-down to maybe they enjoy as well. Whether be it a musical instrument, be it a stereo system, be it a book, be it anything, nothing. It's sort of like there is no hand-me-down. Vida, my sister, gets it and she doesn't let it go, ever. Even if it has to rust there, even if it has to gather dust there, even if it has to, just sit there. It's better than being handed down to my siblings. This is how she looked at it. I am special in our house. Everything is for me. And I'm not even comfortable with, letting people use my stuff after I'm done with them. After I'm, satisfied. I'm no longer interested in that object, but still I don't want to, give it to anybody else to use. That was the situation regarding everything that she had. Now remember, in a household where the income there is only one breadwinner and that income is limited, so what can be bought, the resources are very limited, and what can be bought is limited. So as the result, what is bought is usually used by all the members, because there is not enough income to have 3 of this and 3 of that and 3 of the other, and there is not enough income. So whatever it is has to be, used equally amongst the members. But by locking up her door, by my father allowing this spoiled pussy to lock her doors, it resulted into me and my brother being cut off from most of the expandable income or expandable resources of our family. You see what I'm saying? On top of this, once she figured out that now she's allowed to lock her door and keep her stuff safe, why not start stealing? She was tempted, and eventually she succumbed into a lower position, lower life form, and that is a thief. Let me steal stuff from other parts of the house and put it in my room. They will never know. She had her curtains pulled all the time, so we couldn't see inside the house, inside her room. So she got a locked door and 2 windows, but both windows, the curtains are pulled all the way at all time. She's basically has got a storage facility in our household. My sister, looked at her room as a storage facility. So she would come around our house, steal stuff, take anything that she liked, put it in her room, and lock up the door, as usual, without us knowing. And so I would think, my brother would think as well, that we lost something. What the fuck? We keep losing stuff. And she was beyond reproach. She had the backing of my father, his romantic feelings, and you could never say anything as vulgar and anything as vulgar as accusing your sister of stealing your stuff. No, she wouldn't dare. She's above that. But in reality, later on, Farokh, my brother, and me, later on, individually, we would go into a room and find out that, yeah, she has taken a lot of our stuff, and still we can't object. Still we can't object. Because she's like the woman of the house. We still can't say, why are you taking that? That was mine. Because she's gonna say, no, that was mine. And my father would back her up. Because he liked her pussy. As simple as that. As simple as that. You cannot question this bitch because our father would back her up all the time, every time. What options do you have? I remember after returning from United States, from your house back to my house, and by the way, one of the reasons that all the shit your family put me through, I still was putting up with all the shit your family put me through and didn't ask your father to send me back until your father told me that you're going back. I put up with all this shit that your mother and your family was putting me through during those 3 years, and the military school and all the beatings, and I put up with all that shit is because I had seen how bad is my own household. I had experienced my own household. It was worse. So I'm thinking I can go to that shithole, my own household, to that shithole and be my sister's bitch and the subject of all kinds of harassment and thievery and kicking and beating in my own household by my own sister. Remember, I was 13 years younger than my sister and she's well built. So she literally, and by the time I was able to, beat her back, then my father would, come on her side and he would help her into keeping me down. And then she goes and brings a Muslim from a Mongol lineage. Yeah, her husband is a Muslim from Mongol lineage, the same Mongols who who raped and killed their way across Asia and into Europe. He's of the same stock. So it's like, okay, she's brought another muscle. It was her and our father, and she was looking for some more muscle in order to get her way. And it has been like this. It has been like this. And as I was saying, I wasn't enthusiastic about going back because I had to go back to this shit. This prostitute, my sister, and that asshole, my father. So who wants to go back to that? That asshole who has transferred his romantic feeling from his wife to his daughter. How stupid can you be? So as a result, I went back to Iran after your father sent me back, and I was like 15. I remember I found one of my brothers, after going through some paperwork, I came across my brother's diary from like the time that he was my age, like 11 years ago, because I have 11 years of age difference with my brother. I found his diary from 11 years ago, and I read through it, and I thought, holy shit, it's just not me. It's not just me. I'm seeing my brother talking about this same situation, that everything that comes to this household, remember, he's writing this diary at the same age that I was reading it. 11 years ago, but it was this, he had written it around the same age that I was reading it. So I see that he's mentioning exactly the same things that I feel like needs to be mentioned. That what the fuck is this? All the resources of our family is going to one person, and my sister, everything that is bought, all the expendable income of the family is going to satisfy one member of this family, and that member is not even my mother or my father, is my sibling, sister, and the rest of us have to go suck an egg. And literally, my father has told my brother that, yeah, a man only needs one pair of shoes and one pair of pants and one shirt per year. A woman needs one per month. And yeah, woman's needs are much. Who has taught him that? Who has manipulated him into believing that? That not even the clothing should be divided equally. And who does that? What, why? But this is how basically my father thought and how he behaved. And my sister took full advantage of that. And as the result of this entitlement that my sister felt, she's behaving like an ass all her life. Now, the Muslim guy, first of all, nobody wants to deal with a spoiled girl. The way my sister was spoiled, anything she wants, she wants other her siblings share of everything as well. That results into producing a very spoiled little girl. That's why at 55 she still behaves like a 5-year-old spoiled little girl. So the result is nobody wants to marry such a girl. Nobody wants to be boyfriend to such a girl. It's a spoiled piece of shit that you have to run at her every whim, because her father used to run at her every whim. So you basically have to satisfy her whims. So nobody wants to do that. Who would do that? A person who thinks it's worth putting up with her shit as long as he can get a step closer to that family's resources, money, savings, family business. And this was the Muslim guy's plan the whole time. It's sort of like, okay, I get close to her, I fuck her, I get close to her, I develop a relationship with her, then once I marry her, I beat the crap out of her and, make her behave towards me, only me, but then use her as an instrument to pull her father. Her father is already on top of her. So it's not that big a deal, just you pull the spoiled bitch, her father comes along. Right now, just like as you can see, Mr. Kushner is the de facto president of United States, because basically he's fucking the daughter that the president is basically in love with. He's fucking the woman that the president is in love with, his daughter. So he's the go-to guy in the U.S. administration because he's fucking the first daughter. So this is a simple plan. I mean, you have to be desperate. You have to want money to put up with, to plan like this, and plan all kinds of bullshit. I fuck her, and then I pull the father towards me, and so I can steal their money, and I can spread my seed farther and multiply more and better, and things that a Mongol, someone with Mongol mentality of slaughter and rape and kill and slaughter and rape and kill and murder and multiply, someone with that kind of mentality would plan such a life for himself, which is what this asshole who's fucking my sister had planned. He had such a plan for his life because he's desperate for money, for reproduction, for reproducing. So my point is this, that now at the end we see the same thing. I see the same thing. My brother sees the same thing that has been happening to our family, to my plight and his plight, all his life, all our life. And as I was saying that I read my brother's diary, which he had written at the same age that I was reading it, although 10 years behind. And I read he feels the same way. He was feeling the same way that I was feeling at the same age. That all the family's resources is going to this bitch. This bitch is has become sort of like our stepmother. She decides and she tells my father where to spend his resources. She's driving around in the best car of the house. The household has, my father was at that point, had afford to have 2 cars. One, a 10-year-old car, and after 10 years of driving that beat-up car, the family's resources is used to buy a new car. And instead of giving that car to himself as the breadwinner of the family, or giving that car to my mother as the woman who had reproduced 3 children for him, has produced 3 children for him, he doesn't do that. He gives a brand new car to my sister. What the fuck is this? Why? She's got a pussy and he's in love with the pussy. And the wife is being treated as a servant, as a housekeeper, and a sex slave. End of story. It's probably when he was fucking my mother, he was thinking of my sister Vida. So this is what it comes down to. And why am I speaking up now? Is because I see what has happened. For one thing, I want my share, my proper share, which is 1/3 of our family's business. I want it. This is the end. I want it. I'm willing to put people through hell to get it. That's one. 2, I see that there are other families in our Zoroastrian community which might be suffering from the same thing. In fact, I'm sure there are many other families in our Zoroastrian community that the children are going probably through the same thing. And that's basically the main reason is the lack of understanding, as in like education-wise, intellect-wise, on behalf of the Zoroastrian fathers, your father, my father, and the fathers of, at least the fathers of my generation, will come to hear of this, understand this is a thing. This does happen. This is a thing. So when they see its symptoms in themselves, or the children see these symptoms in their families, in their family structure, they can recognize it as, oh, okay, this is a thing. This is possible. I've heard of it. This guy was talking about it. And so if they see it, they recognize it, and they try to solve it, resolve the issue before it gets as bad as it got in our family. Because literally in our family, Stephen, the whole family was suffering from the behavior of my sister Vida all through her life. She has brought nothing but suffering to our family, because she always did whatever she liked with no regards to how the family is going to be affected by this decision of mine, how my brothers are going to be affected by that decision of mine. No, no, no. It's all about me. It's all about Vida. Me. That's it. Me and my pussy. That's her perspective in life. That was, this perspective was sort of pushed upon her by spoiling her. Since by my father having this romantic affections towards her and treating her with kid gloves and with as much resources as she wanted, my sister became a spoiled brat, selfish, self-centered, that only thinks of her needs all the time. Fuck everybody else. It's all about her. And it's so, and her personality, this situation affects people's personality so much. It warps their personality. It affects all manners in their life. I mean, being given that much privilege when your siblings are not, creates this personality, this thievish. Who's a thief? Who is a thief? A thief is a person who feels they're entitled to something although they're not. That's a thief. I feel entitled to this apple although I didn't work for it, I'm not paying for it, I'm not sitting there, I feel entitled to this. So I take it. That's a thief. I can give you many stories, but I give you this single one that I feel it's a sample of the rest of our family's house, the rest of our family's life, and how we had to deal with this cunt, my sister. As I said, whatever she liked, she used to take to her room and lock it up, and we would never see or hear of that thing that it was ours ever again. When she got married, she loaded everything up without me or my brother ever seeing any of it. She brought that Muslim guy, and they overnight, without any help from me, my brother, or my parents, they loaded up her room and took it to his house. Apparently she hadn't taken everything. There were still some things left that she liked. So after they got married and overnight took her room without our knowledge to see what's going, she decided to come once every, and after a couple of months that she realized that it wasn't him that's going to make them rich. It was my father's money that he had planned to take over to make them rich. So the sister who could not stand my father or my mother or me for 31 years, if she had a minute to spend, she would rather spend it outside, not being with us, with her family, right? That same bitch, after she gets married and realizes, oh, the money is back with my father, she started coming to our house, smiling this time smiling. She used to come to our house and smile on Fridays. I remember lunch, every Friday lunch, this is a thing now. We come back, and me and my husband come and smile and sit, and with a couple of objectives. One was to, try to undermine me as the last remaining sibling in the household, to get me out of the way, out. Literally undermining me. Literally right in front of me, trying to, undercut, try to destroy this person, this personality, this everything that he says is wrong. That's one thing. Second, now show her pleasant personality, or as pleasant as she could muster, to our father and our mother, and try to win them like that, with a much more pleasant personality than when she was living in our household. Because here's the thing, the way she saw it when she was living in our household, because her responsibility was with my father, she got everything she wanted, and she didn't have to smile for it. She didn't have to be pleasant about it. She got it, and she still yelled and screamed and cursed at people, our family. After she got married, her husband apparently told her that, no, you see, dear, I came for your family's money, and unless you smile and go and act nice, we're not gonna get any money from your family into our pocket. So shut the fuck up, and this time we go back to your house, you smile for your father. He's already in love with you, why not smile and squeeze him? And this is what exactly they did. So one, they came to get me out. They used to come back to undercut me to get me out. Two, to show a more pleasant side of themselves to my father and my mother in order to win them over. My father was already won over. It's just that now that her responsibility was presumably of our family and onto her husband, now she had to, provide something more to get the resources of our family. This time she smiles. And the third, which I realized later, this woman used to come to our house, to her father's house, and whatever that she had missed the first time around when she was, accumulating stuff in her room, and then overnight taking it to that Muslim guy's house. Apparently there were some things that she still liked in our house and that she hadn't gathered in the first instant, those 30 years that she was living in our house. Apparently she had missed a few things. So she used to come. I didn't know. This is how events happened. Once I was in our house, like 6 months into our marriage, and I saw a wine cup. It's a cup, round, usually bronze, with a lot of handiwork on it. Doesn't have that much of a monetary value, but it has sentimental values and it has historical values. So this was in our house. After 6-7 months of her marriage, I was there for some birthday or something, and I saw that in her bookcase. Okay, this used to be in our bookcase, in our house, in my room, after she left. So I didn't say anything. I thought maybe somebody has given it to her, decided that they want to give it to her. So I went, a couple of days later, I went to my mother and said, did you give this to her? I saw it in her house. She said, no, I didn't give it to her. A couple of days later, I went to my father and said, did you give this wine cup to my sister? He said, no, I didn't give it to her either. Separately, my parents told me that they haven't given it to her. Once I asked both of them together when we were sitting that, and she says he hasn't given it to her. You said you didn't give it to her. And I haven't given it to her. They said, no, we haven't given it to her. I waited until the next Friday that they were at our house. And near the end of their visit, they were about to leave about 7 o'clock at night. I turned around to my sister and said, what's going on, Vida? That wine bowl, wine cup, our mother says he hasn't given it to her. Our father says he hasn't given it to her. Why is that in your house? It was in my bookcase. Why isn't it in your house, in your bookcase? And she, as always, she got offended and she start attacking and who are you? Fuck you, it's mine, it's none of your business. I'm like, what the fuck? You see, Stephen, when you become spoiled, you feel other people's stuff belongs to you. You feel you can take stuff without working for it, without those stuff belonging to you, without you having any rights to those stuff, material things. So you become a thief because you feel entitled. And this was exactly, this sample is that exactly what's been going on in our household. That my sister is literally a thief because she's spoiled. She thinks everything belongs to her. So we realized later that other stuff was missing, and we realized that she comes every Friday for lunch, and after lunch they stay until at night, and whatever during the time that she's spending in our house, my father's house, whatever she is small enough for her to fit in her purse, she would gather up, put it in her purse, and leave at night with the stuff. What do you call that? Where that is acceptable? In which culture, in which country, in which family is that this kind of behavior acceptable? And that's not the worst of it. The worst of it was that when I brought this matter up, not only as always, she started attacking. The best defense is an offense. She started attacking me, who was, demanding a proper civilized behavior, who was demanding people to behave in a civil manner. Not only she was attacking me, I looked at my father. Now I'm ready for that. If my father gives me, either he gets up and says, yes, Vida, my daughter, you did the wrong thing, stop doing this shit, this is not right, what the fuck is this? I was expecting him to do that, or because this was an obvious case of somebody overstepping their boundaries because they're spoiled. I was expecting that, or at least I was expecting my father to, give me a reaction so I can move forward and demand that my sister behave in a civil manner and return that stuff that she's stolen, that she has taken. It's like, but I see my father is sitting on the couch and looking at his shoes. Here I am telling my sister why are you behaving in an uncivil manner? What the fuck is this? And my father and mother, they're both looking at their shoes. And I'm amazed. When you as parents think it's a good time to, tell your children about good behavior? When do you think she's 30, at that time she was like 32 years old. She's 32 years old, she's married, she has left your house, she comes back and grabs anything that fits in her purse to take to her house? She's 32. When do you think is a good time to teach her about good behavior, about civil behavior, about not taking any shiny object that she likes? That is a bad behavior. When? She's 32. Apparently in their book, never. It's never a good idea to teach children the right behavior. Whose responsibility is to teach children the right behavior? She's fucking 32 years. At that time she was 32 years old. When do you think is a good time? If not now, when? So this has been the case. At that point, my father was quiet, looking at his shoes. In instances before that, involving me and my sister and my brother and my sister, every time me and my brother tried to, bring up her uncivil behavior in the past, we would see the same result. My father just either not backing us up into forcing our sister to behave in a civil manner, or even worse, he would back her up. Although she was totally in the wrong, she did the wrong thing, she would do the wrong thing, she would behave in an uncivil manner, but still he would back her up. I guess, again, it's the pussy and it's the transference of romantic feelings that he should have had for my mother to her pussy. Whatever it was, she's been brought up like this. And Stephen, this is not a case of numbers. I don't care about the numbers. After those 3 months that your mother sent me to Boy Scout camps to sleep in the fucking tent for 3 months, I can just as easily sleep right beside the road here. Just lay my head down, put my shoes under my head, and sleep right by the road at night. Don't give a fuck. After sleeping in a tent for 3 months at age 13, you can handle basically the worst conditions in your life. Anybody can. So my point is that money, I'm enjoying myself in life. The point is not money. The point is I had enough. Enough of this shit. Enough of this horny brown man, my father, having his dick in his hand, being in love with a pussy which happens to be belonging to my sister. And because of that, my sister being in a position to manipulate my father at her whim. This is bullshit. This has been going on in our family ever since I know myself, ever since I remember 7, 8 years old. She was the absolute ruler of our family. This bitch, this piece of human excrement. This pig, this thief, was given the reign of our house by my father's backing. And if that was not enough, let me put it this way. If just my father's personal feelings toward her, if that was not enough, when my sister was 18, my father agreed for her to spend a couple of months in Manucher's bachelor pad. Manucher, same guy who's spoken to you. He had a bachelor pad on the second floor of her mother's house. He was like 35, 36 at that time, and he was at the height of his achievements in life at that time. After that revolution took place and he fell from grace. But at that point, he was 35, 36. He was at the height of his achievements in life. And my father agreed to send my sister, the 18-year-old girl, to his bachelor pad for a couple of months. And the reason given to us was that she's studying for university exam. You send an 18-year-old girl to a 35-year-old's bachelor pad to study for exam, to sleep overnight, couple of months. I remember Manucher, as far as I remember, Manucher was always the same guy who got my sister when she was 18, was always on her side and always advocating for her. Always advocating on her behalf uh, for my father, in my father's ear. And him being, he wasn't the most successful person in our extended family, but he certainly blew his horn the loudest as far as how successful he was. So he always blew his horn the loudest. Not being the most successful, but always blowing your horn the loudest gives you a certain position in the family. And that was him. And my father respected his views because he was blowing his horn so loud. And my father was an impressionable, stupid, simple-minded man. So she was manipulating my father. Manucher, who obviously during those couple of months probably had some kind of relationship with my sister, so he became an advocate on her behalf after that pleasant time that he spent with her. And I remember to such a degree he was on her side and liked her and hated me just because my sister, hated me. My sister hates anybody who she has to share anything with. If there is a pie and she has to give you a piece, you have to share the pie. She hates you. She hates anybody who wants a piece, even if it's their right, even if it's their share, if it's according to all the norms of society, they need to have a piece of that pie. She's still against it. She will still fight you tooth and nail because she wants all of it at all times. Because this is how she was brought up by this stupid man, our father. So I remember Manucher was so much just, I don't know what my sister had told her, but I was 7 or 8, 6, 7 or 8, I'm not sure. It was one of the last times that we were in the same party as Manucher and his family. We were at Manucher's sister's house, Shaheen. It was the birthday of her son, Shaheen. I think his name is Shaheen. And I remember we were standing, kids, 7-year-old, 8-year-old kids. I was at the same age as my cousin Shaheen's son. So, same age group. I was like 7, 8, 6, 7 or 8. Standing around the table and, talking and screaming and doing what kids do at birthdays. Just normal stuff. And suddenly I see Manucher, who's standing on the other side of the table taking pictures. And I'm standing between like 8 other kids, 10 other kids. Suddenly I see he comes over, he pulls my hand. Now at this point he's 36 and I'm 7, 8. He pulled my hand from the middle of the bunch, took me to an empty room. The only person who followed us was my mother. The room was empty beside me, Manucher, and my mother. As soon as we got there, my mother was still coming. Suddenly, Manucher, at 35, 36, hit me real hard across my face. I'm 7. I'm just bewildered. I'm looking at him and thinking, what the fuck? So my mother comes along. I started crying. My mother comes along and said, Manucher, what you doing? What did he do? And this man turns to my mother, and I swear to God, I kid you not, this is the sentence that Manucher, the guy you know, Manucher Iranpur, this is the sentence he gave my mother. He told my mother. He said, your kid was interfering with my artistic work. This fucking guy, at the height of his success, at 35, 36, considered taking a couple of pictures in a kid's birthday as artistic work. And me, along with other kids, I wasn't standing alone, I was with other kids, being loud. It's a birthday, it's for kids to enjoy. I wasn't doing anything out of the ordinary. But apparently he wanted to make a point with me, with my mother, with my father, with my family, that he's the boss, he's got the big dick, so he can beat the littlest kid for no reason whatsoever. So this was the reason he gave. He was your kid was interfering with my artistic work. What was your artistic work? Taking a couple of pictures in a fucking birthday? Fuck you and your artistic work. How shallow and simple-minded and stupid you must be to think a couple of pictures in a birthday can be considered as artistic work. So my mother said, what do you mean? He said, he shook his hand while I was taking a picture. What do you expect kids to do when it's a birthday and everybody's being loud? So my point is this to you, Stephen. Manucher is a very stupid, shallow man. He in his household, he's been treated by her mother like in our household my sister has been treated by our father. He was in his household, he was the object of affection by his mother. And as a proof of that point, he lived in the same household as his mother until she died. At that point, I guess he was like 50, 60 or 60, 65-year-old. Just imagine living in the same house as your mother until you're 65. Even when you get married, you bring your wife to the same house to live with your mother until she dies, until the end of her life. That's exactly more or less what has happened to my sister. She was living in our household until she was 31. She got married, was away from my father for only 10 years. And then she moved our father to her house to be close to each other, to be close to the money, to the resources. And I remember my father once, the way she had manipulated him was to manipulate him to a point in which she had come to consider her children as his own. Sort of like, it's not my grandchildren, they're my children. My child's children. It's all manipulation. It's closeness and interaction and bring them in and then tell them to pay for your children. And it all comes from the Muslim guy, he's just an opportunistic parasite. Every parasite is opportunistic. You get an opportunity to hang on and, spread your seed. He will do it. Most Muslims are like that. Opportunistic parasites. And my sister, she wasn't like that when she was born. She didn't come out. She didn't come out like that. No, she was brought up like that due to, as you can tell, due to lack of uh, intelligent intelligent design by my father. He didn't use his brain to bring up my sister in a civilized manner. So now at age 55, she's still as selfish as a 5-year-old girl. Everything for me, everything for me, everything for me. If your my sister comes to your house and you don't want your things to go missing, you gotta nail them down, because she will take anything that's not nailed down. That's her personality. What's yours is mine. It's just temporarily in your possession. As soon as I can get to you, I will collect my stuff from you. So it all goes back to lack of judgment on my father's behalf of bringing up this girl like this, just because he had misplaced his romantic feelings from his wife to his daughter, and she came up such a spoiled little bitch. And this has to stop, and I have to get what is mine, my share, 1/3 of our household's savings, family business. 1/3 of it belongs to me. I also have taken care of my father for 12 years. I cooked and cleaned for him, as I said, between the age of 19, when I was 19, to 31, 32, that I was living in his house. I was basically cooking and cleaning for him, because he never learned to cook. When my mother died at 55, my father was like 65 and never cooked for anybody, never worked, never spent any time in the kitchen. So he didn't know how to cook, how to clean, no nothing. So I took the role of my mother for my father for 12 years. What is my sister has done for the past 10 years. So in that sense, we are equals. In fact, I've done more, because during the first 30 years of my sister's life, where I still worked in our household when my mother was alive, I still worked in our orchards, gathering fruits in our house, cleaning. She was the only one who didn't actually do anything. My sister never worked a day in her life in our family business, which was the orchard. My sister was excused from doing any household chores because she's an architect. When she wasn't an architect, she still was not expected to do anything in the household. You know, her nails will get dirty, and my father would have a broken heart because her nails are getting dirty. You see, this is what happens when you bring up a cunt with this much attention. When the father falls in love with his own daughter, it becomes shit. The daughter becomes shit, which you can see Ivanka Trump. You can see it. Every one of us can see it. The way President Trump treats her, the way she reacts, the way she's grabbing all the attention, the way she is manipulating her father, the way she's kicking her brothers farther and farther away. It's just stupid men bring up stupid children, and my sister is one of them.